They are going to give you everything they have, so you better be ready with that camera. Feel like they are there. At least have them feel like they've missed out on something. This is where all your focus should be. If you are new to nightclub photography, I might have a couple of tips for you. Let's get into it.
Adrianto Victor, the GOAT.
Before we get into gear, let me just tell you, I am not a gear nerd, okay? I'm not one to be upgrading every single time a new gadget comes out. That is just not me. I appreciate good gear, but I'm not one to go to the extreme. That said, anyway, let's go. Camera, I use the Canon EOS R, which is what I'm using to shoot this video now. And it is a little beast, man. For photos, I also use it for content, video content, and yeah, I absolutely love it. In terms of lenses, I use the EF 50mm 1.2, I think it is, which is on the camera for this video. And yeah, as I said, it's the EF lens, and I've also got the 85 EF. There we go. If I really want to get a little bit closer, I rarely take this to the club though, because the club is just too wild and too crazy, and this lens is my absolute favorite. I use it for most of my work, portraits, and also product photography every now and then. So, and it's this guy here. It's the 100mm macro lens. Like I said, I rarely take it to the club. I think I've used it, I don't know, a handful of times, and yeah. Other than that, the 50 and the 85 are my two main lenses that I have, really. Like I said, I use what I have, I use what I'm used to, and I don't see a point in upgrading to the latest every single time something comes out. Although I am currently in the market for a 2470 or a 24105. So yeah, those are my lenses. This is the flash that I have. There we go. Let's whoop. There we go. The Godox TT685C for Canon, obviously. Simple little flash. Had this from the beginning, and it is still doing the job. It just runs on 4 AA batteries, and I've just got rechargeable batteries in there, and like I said, it is still doing the job. The ambient lighting in nightclubs are amazing. All the colors, they're all part of the story, so you don't want to flood that with your flash. And so I really use the flash as a fill. That way I have, the faces, or at least the top half of the body of the subjects are nice and lit. Apart from that, I want to keep all the ambient lighting, the neon lights, all of that in the photos. And the way I do that is, let me just say this first. In nightclubs, there's nowhere to bounce your light, to bounce your flash. So usually with a flash, you want to have nice, soft, even lighting. So you bounce out either off a ceiling or off a wall. But in nightclub situation, it's very dark. The walls are usually dark. The ceilings are usually dark, so there's really no opportunity for you to bounce light for even lighting. So what I do is, because you can't bounce light off the ceiling, I just leave it tilted, what's that, about 45, and then the fill comes really from the spill of the light from below here. And that is more than enough with the right camera settings and the head at an angle like this. That is more than enough for me to get a nice exposed image without it looking like everyone is being, zapped or flooded with a flashlight. So that's how I try to keep the balance. Cool. That is the light. This next tip is to know the space, know the venue, know the area, know the room, wherever it is that you're working, know it like the back of your hand. The last thing you want is have something else to worry about, okay? So what I normally do is, especially when it's a venue that I've never been to and it's day one of working there, I will turn up early. Even with the venue that I'm working with at every weekend here in Sydney right now, I still get in early because you never know what setup they'll have. You never know what if the lightings have changed. You just don't know. So get in early, have a look around. I'll look for the lighting, the stage light, the dance floor lights, their positioning, how they're moving, how far how much light they give off from that area. So that gives me an idea of where to take or my vantage points to take photos from. Because with nightclub photos, especially for me anyway, is I like to use the disco lights as backlighting, so they get a nice rim lighting of reds and greens and blues. So disco lights behind them, and I'm exposing them with the flash in front. Looks really nice. The other thing I look for is the darkest area of the room, the darkest corner, and that way I know that if I'm in the darkest area of the venue or the room, then I know straight away before I even throw up the camera to my face, I need to adjust the settings a little bit. And when it comes to settings, get your settings to a base level. What I mean by that is, for each of your settings in the exposure triangle, you want to have each setting set where you can kind of float between a minimum and a maximum of that setting quite quickly. So for example, with my shutter, I move between 1/80th and 1/100th. With my aperture, I move between 3.5 to about 5, sometimes 5.5. 5.6. And then with my ISO, I float between 2.5 to about 4,000 sometimes. So because I'm sticking in between those minimums and maximums for each settings of the exposure triangle, I know when I'm at the darkest part of the venue, it's just like a quick slide of the dial or a quick, press of a button and I'm there. I don't have to think about it too much. So that's why knowing your venue or knowing the space is very, very important. So these tips are pretty much to allow you to focus more on getting great photos and not think about the lighting or the space or the settings. All those things should be in the back of your mind already, and that will come after repetition, after experience. So don't stress about it too much on your first, second, third, even fourth day at the job. Just try to get into a habit of getting things set in camera so that you're just focused on getting great photos. Next thing, all right, this is the fun stuff, okay? This is where all your focus should be, okay? So you know your gear, you know your venue, you know your settings, everything's all good for you to go. This is where your energy and focus is going to be at, all right? And this is what's going to set you apart from other photographers, okay? And that is working the room. You want to catch the action, the vibe, the lights, the smoke, the DJs. You want to pull the viewer in to the images and have them feel like they are there. At least have them feel like they've missed out on something. And the only way to do that is for you to be in the action with the people while they party. Yep, you have to. If you are socially awkward, if you are, an introvert, kind of like me, I'm a bit of both. It takes me time to get comfortable in crowds, especially people I don't know. Okay, but again, it's something that you just have to work on. It took me a long time to work on this, and I finally am feeling a little bit more comfortable. And it's just something you have to do. You have to be in the nosebleed section. You have to be in the mosh pit. You have to be in the middle of the chaos in order to take photos of the chaos. You want to fill that frame with hands and faces and drinks in hands and confetti and smoke and lights. You want to fill that frame with all the beautiful organized chaos that is nightclubs. And that is how you separate your work from everybody else. And that is how you pull viewers into the images. The venues will love it. The promoters will love it. The DJs will love it. And most of all, the people you're photographing will love it. Because when they are in that mood after a few drinks and they see you with a camera, they are going to give you everything they have. So you better be ready with that camera. You better be ready with the settings. You don't miss that, okay? Now, let's talk about something else though. Obviously, not everyone wants their photos taken, okay? And you're going to get rejected. People are going to say, no, go away. They'll even come up to you before you even notice them. And they'll come up to you and say, hey, please don't take photos of me at all tonight. I don't want to be in any photos. Cool. Respect that. You say, yes, I can't promise anything because there's hundreds of people in here. But if I see you, I will try to remember and not take photos of you. Done. Easy. But, here's the thing that just because that one person says no, that doesn't mean they won't be in a photo. Because what you need to do is, usually there's always a, what do you call them? The party animal in the group, right? There's always one in the group. So what you want to do is you want to observe big groups. You want to identify the party animals and you want to work with them. And once you have them on your side, they will then automatically, trust me, everyone else will go with them and start, posing for photos. So just because they say no, that doesn't mean they won't be in your photos. Trust me, I've seen it. But of course, there are people that's going to be, they'll run away from cameras. That's cool, man. Don't put any pressure. Don't be a jerk. Just be normal. If they say no, all good, okay? But work with the party animals in the group because most of the time, those guys are going to be your best friends and they are going to be giving you the content that you need. All right? All right, I think that is it, guys. Look, the main thing is have fun. Have fun with your work. Stories over gear, okay? And just focus on taking great images, connect with the people, go with them on that journey because, look, just because you're not drunk, just because you haven't been drinking, that doesn't mean you can't go with them on this journey because when you do, your images are going to be spot on. Anyway, guys, that is enough for me for today. I hope I've given you something to think about, especially if you're just starting out in your nightclub photography journey. If you like that video, please like, share, and even consider subscribing. Let me know in the comments below what you want me to talk about next. If you've got any questions, and I will try to answer them, whether in comments or even make a video about it. Hope you enjoy that, guys, and have an awesome day. Peace.